Kodachrome. They give us those nice bright colors. They give us the greens of summer. Makes you think all the world's a sunny day. Oh yeah, that is a Paul Simon song, and Linda Carroll absolutely loves that and has it on her website along with the rest of the song. So I thought that would be my quote for today. So hello again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to The Profitable Photographer with me, Lucy Dumas. And I am excited to get to know and share with you the lovely Linda Carroll. Before I do, I want to encourage you to please get in touch. Let me know the value that you're receiving from this podcast. It's a labor of love, but Lucy needs a little love back sometimes. So it really helps to know who's out there and getting some value. Does that sound too needy or what they call thirsty? I don't know. Anyway, all right. So Miss Linda is from Georgia, but she doesn't have an accent that I picked up very much. She is a certified professional photographer with the Professional Photographers of America and a photographic craftsman and a portrait artist. Her business is in Kennesaw, Georgia, and she specializes in people. So not a single niche, but sort of all the needs of people with faces is what I perceive. She has beautiful work, and clearly she knows the art and craft of getting great expressions and great composition with people. She started her journey in the olden days of film before autofocus and cell phones and all of that. And she loves to bring her joy, passion, and creativity, along with years of experience, to every session, whether she's in the studio or on location. She also teaches creative set design and how to run a successful Santa season. And so you can find her, I'm sure, on the PPA website about when she might be speaking or where. And her theme in life is capturing life, those tiny little priceless moments. So welcome, Linda. Thank you for saying yes to being on the show.
Thank you, Lucy, so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So, and I love meeting new people that I should have met long ago. And since you've been in business 20 years, and I assume you've attended PPA events, it seems like we should have, and maybe we have crossed paths and we just didn't remember.
Well, that's probably true. One of the things is that it wasn't until, even though I started in 2004, I was doing mostly sports photography at the
Oh,
local level, like at the local high school and at the college. My son just happened to be on the team and approached the high school football coach and asked him if I could be on the sidelines. And even after he graduated, they still wanted me to take the pictures.
mhm.
And then when he went off and played college ball, I followed him and was able to get press passes. So I was on the sidelines for his games. And when he finally graduated, my daughter started playing fast pitch softball. And so the sports theme continued. But it wasn't really until about 2016 that I said, you know what, I really want to pursue this
Oh,
as to take it more than what I had been doing.
got it.
You
Got
know,
it.
people would ask me, well, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'd say, sure, but I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm. So, what did you do and how did you get income? I assume you got some income from sports photography. So, what were you
Basically, I would just put it up on a website and let parents purchase from that.
and did they?
Um, they did because I was capturing images that they were not able to get in
Hmm.
the stands. And you have to think about this. A lot of that, some of it was in film. So that
Hmm.
was before digital. I got my first digital in 2004, and I was shooting with a Canon Rebel on the sidelines. So not even the fanciest of cameras, you
Not
know.
one of those 5 foot lenses with
No,
three
no, I was shooting
tripods
with a
and
75 to
uh,
300 and on a Canon Rebel and was
uh,
getting amazing images.
yeah.
So
Was that a Canon lens or was that like a Tamron?
No, it was a Canon lens.
Ah, nice.
Basically a kit lens.
So you're one of those we used to call the
Yes.
mom with a rebel and a dream. And
Yes, absolutely.
and you made it work, and then you continued to expand and get
Hmm.
excited about the world of photography. And so now, so your studio has been up since when again?
Okay, I opened my first studio in 2018,
Mm.
and it was basically a partnership with a framing company, and my studio was her conference room.
Oh, well,
So it was a
I love that you got creative with how to find a place to meet with your clients and do your work that
mhm.
involve opening a, you know, big studio where you had to spend a lot every month, and half of the month work was spent just trying to pay the bills on that. That was always a reason I hesitated to open a studio is that upfront cost. So I love that you found a
Right.
way to make that work.
Well, and then in 2020, I partnered with another photographer, and she and I opened the current space that I'm in today.
Ah,
In the middle of the pandemic, we opened a studio.
wow. How did you make that work?
Um, we made it work, and that was what was amazing. I considered her one of my mentors, and to be able to have that time with her really helped solidify what I was doing. When I'm one of those that I'm a big proponent of finding people that you can learn from,
Hmm.
and when you can be in their space,
That's
and
huge.
you do whatever you need to do to be in their space. And I can remember she called me up and said, hey, I need to go to Tallahassee. I need would you be able to drive me? And I'm like, sure, let me take the time off from work and I'll drive you, because my thought was, I'm going to have her for 48 hours I will be with her for 48 hours. I can pick her brain.
Hmm.
That I did,
Yeah.
and so it's finding people like that in the industry that are willing to help you grow as a photographer, which is one of the reasons why I like to give back,
Hmm.
to share what I've learned from the people that I've come across that have helped me.
And that's why I love the Professional Photographers of America and the state and local chapters, because it
Hmm.
is the heart of sharing. They've been around
Absolutely.
over 150 years with the intention of supporting photographers, where some other organizations, the core, uh, also is to be profitable, but PPA is nonprofit. So they're just there for us, and they're part of
Hmm.
our team. And like I stand on the shoulders of absolute giants, and you do too. And there are many you don't know, because the people that you're learning from and growing from, they obviously stood on those shoulders of people that have passed. So it's part of our legacy. I love that you're part of that same thing that I am, which is about
Hmm.
giving and then giving back. I mean, that's why I do
Right.
podcasts. That's why I do coaching. That's why you're teaching. So, and I imagine, because one of my questions, I want to dive into it more later, but was about how you keep passionate and enthused. And I'm guessing that part of that is because you you're teaching, and
Hmm.
that does that stimulate you creatively to
Oh,
be.
absolutely. Because this is part of, oh, how do I say it? I taught Sunday school for 25 years.
Okay.
Okay. So if you
I
can
used
teach
to.
Sunday school for 25 years to adults, not children, to
Uh-huh.
adults,
Hmm.
um, what I found in that journey is that as I would have to prepare, I was learning more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same when you prepare a class, when you prepare a talk, you have to understand your material to the point that you can get up, and if somebody said, okay, I want you to talk about this topic for 10 minutes, go, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm involved with a local networking group here in Atlanta, where we call it have a 7 minute in your back pocket,
Mm.
that if during the meeting, if somebody wasn't there that was supposed to do a 7 minute, you could get up and take their place and not even hesitate and pull off a talk.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of talks would you do in a networking group? Would it be
Oh,
about
oh,
photography or
oh, well, in these networking groups, what I've been doing is one, I share about lighting. I've done a thing about the different color of light
ah?
and took some tips on, for us as women, this is a tip for women,
Mm-hmm.
is go to your bathroom, go buy daylight bulbs
Mm.
and put daylight bulbs in your vanity lights. That way, you always have daylight. You don't need a makeup mirror. You
Mm-hmm.
can do that. And for example, when you're in an office building, it's usually for less fluorescent lighting. But if you do your makeup in daylight, you're good wherever you go.
Mm. And that's a good tip, and it shows your authority. So that has me, I've never mentioned this idea on my show, and this will be like episode 280 or something. But one of the ways, if I right now was like, I want to kickstart my portrait business again, I would find groups that need a 15-minute speaker, ladies who lunch, um, service organizations, uh, wherever I could that are my ideal client neighborhood. And I would come up with a talk that was fun about photography, that wasn't about my photography, but the topic I would pick is about children's photograph, art of children throughout the ages. And
Hmm.
so I would make, sculpture, talk about sculptures and how baby Jesus was a pretty dominant baby,
Mm-hmm.
and those kinds of things. So that gives that authority about art. And then in the back of the room, I would have either a drawing of like one major prize and then opportunity to also gift some things, so that I could pull people to me more specifically. One of my coaching photographers always wears a bow tie. And my
Mm.
suggestion to him was to do the history of bow ties as a little talk and have a couple
Mm-hmm.
wall portraits and a book at the back of the room and a table. So anyway, I'm just putting that out there, that it's a way to get, if people are always like, how do I get my name out there? And
Right.
especially people who do like executive or branding, all of those
Mm-hmm.
um, places need something. If they're like, there's a lunch meeting once a month in the perfect neighborhood, and they're not all in business, but a lot of the women that go are motivational speakers, or they might be working on
Mm-hmm.
a book or something. And of course, most of them have families and other things. So anyway, it just popped on my head, and I just wanted to
Yeah,
share
no,
that.
actually that gave me a great thing. Um, because I actually have a blog on my website talking about the importance of makeup and making sure women have lipstick on when they come in for their portraits. And they're like, well, I don't wear lipstick. And I'm like, you really need to wear lipstick. It
Right.
makes such a difference when you don't have lipstick versus having lipstick. I proved it with my girls softball team. I was taking their team pictures, and they were like, well, we don't need lipstick. And I took a picture of one of them and I said, now put some lipstick on. And I showed them the back of my camera. I showed them the difference. And they were like, oh my gosh, we need to all have lipstick.
Yeah.
You know,
So that could
so
be a good talk. The one thing to caution the listeners is that it's not about photography or having a portrait, having, as they say in your neck of the woods, getting your picture made, right? In the
mm-hmm,
rural South, go get your picture made, but something
right.
that shows our expertise that's kind of fun. And yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
see a whole talk and even taking like some art like Rembrandt and then digitally putting lipstick on people and just making it really fun. So yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Anyway, I kind of diverged, but hopefully there's
Yeah.
people that are like, oh my gosh, what great ideas. So let's see, where are my other questions? We've sort of been talking in a way that I haven't had to ask you the questions that I've listed as questions, which is fun. Um, so I do know that you have a, a career that's not photography and your photography career. So how do you
Mm-hmm.
manage to basically the one you're not running the business, but how do you manage having two careers
Right. Oh,
and
that's a
children
very good
and
question.
children? Let's
And
just throw
children and grandchildren now.
in
Um,
grandchildren. Well, that
um,
grandbabies, you can send them home, which is great.
right.
Right. Hopefully.
But and what's really interesting is the difference between the two careers is that my primary career for 44 years has been information systems, and it's been a very analytical type
Mm,
of role that I've done. Um, and so when you take that and you combine it with photography, which can be creative, but it still has technical to it because you have to
mhm,
understand how the technical stuff works, is bringing that all together. And I'm also, one of the things I like to tell people is that I really came into this late. You know, I didn't really start pursuing becoming a professional photographer until 2016 when I was 57 years old.
mm,
So I didn't start, I mean, I got my first camera when I was 18, but I didn't really pursue it until 2016. And to look at where I've come from in 2016 to where I am today, we're only talking 8 years. Um, and that's, like you say, working this around a full-time job. Last November, a year ago now, I went part-time. So I only work my other job 20 hours a week, which
mm,
allows me more time to be more creative, which is amazing. Um, but I think what fuels all of this is, and I know people hate to hear this word, it's the passion. I just love creating the images. I can have a really bad day in the office and I can come to my studio or I can just pick up my camera and go take pictures. And it's like night and day. I can remember I'd gone down to Florida and I had just gotten a brand new camera and I was sitting on the beach at Cocoa Beach and I love taking pictures of seagulls. Okay.
mm,
Seagulls. I love
mhm.
them. Everybody in my family teases me because I have thousands of seagull pictures. But I was on the beach by myself taking pictures of seagulls, and I had this guy come up to me, random, said, "You look so happy."
Oh,
I was in my happy space.
I love
So
that.
photography is my happy space.
Hmm.
And like I said, so I think that's how I can balance between the two because I have had a very stressful career. I wouldn't say stressful. It's just been a very interesting career.
Hmm. Intense, is that a better word for
Yeah,
it?
intense. And I speak on topics that I know at conferences. In fact, I'm speaking at an IBM conference in a couple of weeks on a topic. So it's just a meld of the two.
Hmm. So, do you have some thoughts about how people can spark their passion. Like I'm currently have been so focused in the last few years on coaching and supporting others and the podcast, and it's very creative and it takes a lot of energy. And so photography has like I love to walk around the block with my cell phone and see, what's blooming. Um, I think like if I hadn't been a wedding photographer a zillion years ago, I might have been a florist. I really, really love flowers.
Mm.
Um, and oh, there's this book, I can't remember. It's something like 100 ways to spark your photography um, imagination or something. And it's all
Right.
these little exercises like uh, finding faces. That's always fun to go out and find what looks like a face but isn't a face, like from a manual
Hmm.
cover or tree bark or something like that. Do you have thoughts about? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm a little non-passionate right now about photography, but because I've been passionate about teaching, I've been in this business since 82. So that's woo,
Mm.
40, 42 years and
Yeah.
just cranking it full time for the first 32 plus. So thoughts about sparking that passion again in photography, or do you have exercises or
Yeah.
ideas on that?
Well, one of the things I do is I actually got this really cool book. It's called The Creative Mind. And
Mm,
it's a really neat book because you can read like a chapter a day, and it's only like 3 or 4 pages.
mm,
Um, and I got it off of I saw it at the bookstore. And so every day it talks about how to allow your mind to be creative.
mm,
And I'll have to find the author. I want to say it's Rabin or something like that is the author,
mm,
but it's called The Creative Mind. Um, the other thing that I find is journaling and writing
mm,
down and just thinking about what's what's possible. Um, and in fact, I had this really crazy idea come to me this week. Is I have this, that gorgeous tulle robe that you see people in, and I thought, why not do mini sessions for women who want to be photographed in a tulle robe? They're
mm,
not going to go out and buy it.
mm,
So I'm like, that's a great idea. So now it's okay, how do I do it?
mm,
But I wrote it down because sometimes those inspirations come from when you're doing something. One of the things they talk about is like, where do you think the best? Driving, in the shower, things like
mm,
that. And people think I'm crazy because I do not mind long car drives by myself because then I can think
mm.
and I can just let my mind be. And, I think that helps a lot.
I love that.
It's like that day when I went down and sat on the beach taking pictures of seagulls.
Hmm. Um, do you know who Georgia O'Keeffe's husband, Stieglitz? Yes. Uh, you know who Georgia O'Keeffe, the painter, was?
Hmm.
And her
Right.
husband was Stieglitz, who started the first photo gallery in New York, and all the anybody who's anybody from the the 2000s um, were a part of. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, one of his first shows, because honestly, I don't think he was the best photographer that ever lived. There's so many I admire, but he did a show on clouds. He was
Mm.
kind of flat. There's a great book called George O'Keeffe and Stieglitz, and it's such a good read. I should read it again about their whole relationship, but also about his impact on photography. And he, with film, black and white film, he just started photographing clouds. And he had helped
Hmm.
Georgia curate and get her work out there. And she helped him see that this could be a great show. So I like that idea of picking a thing like a seagull. I have crows, lots of crows on my telephone poles, and I have palm trees, and they like to eat the little. There's a little bit of fruit on the dates in the neighborhood, and squawk around and things. So that could be a fun thing to get my camera
Hmm.
and photograph the crows. Or
Yeah.
one of my first
You know, or
one of my first coaching clients, uh, he loved photographing flowers, but it was always kind of the same composition, just flower. So I gave him an assignment to photograph 21 flowers in 21 days and to post them every day online. And at a certain point, he started getting more artistic. And then I gave him the challenge of now have 2 or 3 flowers in there and look at composition. And by the end of it, all of his work was better. So I guess I have some of the
hmm.
answers in my own head, but I love where you think best. Oh, that so I have a lot of great thoughts first thing in the morning. And I started
Hmm.
taking my old phone, because when I upgrade in Apple, I've had a phone
Hmm.
left over. And so I take that into the bathroom with me. And when an idea pops up, even if I'm showering or brushing my teeth, I say, Siri, do a reminder of X.
Hmm.
So, yeah, you have other ideas. So, where you think best, journaling, the book, The Creative Mind,
Journaling,
other thoughts?
journaling, sometimes just driving around, and seeing something that catches my eye. Um, uh, I also like traveling. And when you're able to go to different
Yeah.
places and see different things, oh my gosh. My husband and I just came back from 2 weeks in Ireland.
Oh,
And we spent the first week on our own, but the second week we were, I know a lot of your audience probably know Kelly and Kalina Snyder.
mm,
We were there on one of their photo, um, it's not a workshop where, um, it's a photo trip. Let's just put it this
yeah,
way.
right.
And being around that many creatives and working side by side by another with another creative that said, well, here, did you think about this? Did you think about that? I mean, you
Mhm,
come away with knowing so much more and being able to implement so much more. Here, I mean, I'm gonna I called my husband in a frantic today. I was having a person come in for headshots. Okay.
mhm,
Somewhere in the course of this last week, I've misplaced my camera trigger for my flashes.
mm,
So here I am 30 minutes away from this beautiful young lady coming into my studio for headshots.
mhm,
And I go, I can handle this. I shot it all basically with constant light,
mm,
and they looked amazing. She did not know the difference that the flashes weren't going off, but it's because of the training and the education that I've invested in myself. I knew I could pull it off.
mhm.
And she didn't know that there wasn't flashes going off.
So the moral of that story is what?
Um,
Other than, yay, congratulations. So what is,
yeah, yeah, yay, congratulations, I did this. But the moral of the
phew.
story is, yeah, phew, yeah, trust me, I was sweating bullets. The moral is to put yourself out there to learn to figure out how to do something if something's not going to work the way you think it's going to work. I
Mhm,
think as moms, we always have to improvise. So this was mass improv.
mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
you
Do you know
know.
anything about improv and the term yes and?
Yeah, yes,
I
and
Yes, and
well,
I took improv for, I don't know, a year and a half. And the core when you're doing it is that whatever comes at you from somebody, you don't contradict them and go negative. You say yes, and that flash doesn't, so you were yes anding. Okay, flash
Right.
isn't working.
And my client didn't know the difference
Yeah,
at
you
all. But
didn't
because
panic.
I've learned how to do it,
Yeah.
it was flawless.
So education maybe is some of the moral of the story. Know your stuff.
Yes.
Um,
Know how your equipment works.
right. I I think part of what has kept me over the decades learning and growing and being excited and inspired is taking week-long classes through PPA. We have West Coast School in
Hmm.
California. There's Texas School. There's, I think Rocky Mountain is still around. And when you spend a week with one teacher and one group of students, and at the same time, you're in a community where there's many other teachers and many other students, it's so inspiring. It's so stimulating. And when the teacher, if it's a hands-on demo and you see
Hmm.
what they're up to and what you like about it and and what you don't, like, I'm laughing because you, you may not have heard of a photographer named Dean Collins, but he is the godfather of light. He
Mm.
passed away maybe 15 years ago. And he happened to be a photographer in San Diego doing commercial work. So our classes were at his studio. And I learned a lot about light. The yeah, he people look him up. He's still some of his VCR videos got turned
Mm.
into CDs, and now they're probably audio. Because anyway, so I took his class, and one of the things we did was go to this little a street that had a little funky bar on the corner at 4 in the morning, and he set up all this lighting stuff. And what I learned from that is I do not want to do cars and motor. Oh, but he put a motorcycle in front of the bar. So he lit the motorcycle. I do not want to do that kind of commercial work. So there's even things you can learn uh, that you
Hmm.
don't want. Or Frank Cricchio,
Yeah.
who passed maybe a year ago, he would use like 7 lights. And I also learned I didn't want to have a studio where I sculpted every little thing, but his work was amazing. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, and going
Yeah.
to convention, all that
Yeah,
good
I'm a
experience.
big believer in education. I went to my first imaging in 2019.
Mm,
So, I mean, I'm relatively new to PPA. So,
yeah.
2019, I've gone to the Texas school a couple of times. I've gone to Mars a couple of times, which is the Mid Atlantic um, school. I did the Georgia school,
Mm,
and it really there's so much truth to what you say about going and being with an instructor for an entire week. When I went to Texas school, I had the Tony Corbell. I took his class on lighting,
he's my buddy.
and coming back and being able to implement and try out some of the things that they talked about, and figuring out how to light something.
Yeah,
Um, you
he's the master.
it's
Oh,
yes.
Tony studied with Dean. He was Dean's apprentice.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we're full circle now. And he has been on my show. If you go back a couple of years, you'll
Okay, I
see
will.
Tony. And I think I did a replay on that because he's just the nicest, greatest person in the world and also such a great teacher. I'm happy. So now I
Mhm.
understand even more why you're doing so well, and I love your work, and you're so smart as you're smart enough to go where the the good teaching and experience and inspiration is hanging out. So I
Mm.
love that. And it just got me realizing because I have not been to an imaging since the shutdown of COVID. Um,
Oh, no.
and so no wonder I'm a little flat on photography because I haven't been getting my nourishment. My
Mm-hmm.
inspiration so many times is from the conferences. But
Absolutely.
between the shutdowns and then just some other things and flare-ups of new COVID things right before it started, I just haven't. And yeah, and my mom passed right
Oh,
around that time. She was 99. Her life was not of equality, so it was a
yeah.
blessing. But it kept me from going because I had
Yeah.
a memorial to plan.
Well,
So
maybe then we'll get to meet in person at imaging
yes,
this
yes.
coming one because I will be walking the stage as
To
getting
get your
my
craftsman.
I will be awarded my craftsman.
That's
So I'm
awesome.
excited about that.
I'm excited for you. That's awesome. Let me see if there's any other questions. I think, um, yeah, I think all the little notes that I took that I wanted to scoop out of your brain and your heart, I am sure we could have much more on all of these topics, but I think that is what I have to ask you. Uh, so I didn't check with you on this, but is there a way? So, two questions. How do people get in touch with you? Um, and
Oh, okay.
and is there a way if they wanted to get education or find out where you might be speaking or something, is there a path to that?
Okay. The way they can get in touch with me, I use the same handle across Facebook, Instagram, and all those, and it's LC, my initials,
Mhm.
LC, Life, LIFE, photos.
Okay.
So even my Gmail is lclifephotos@gmail.com.
Ah, okay.
They can look up LC Life Photos on Facebook, LC Life Photos on Instagram, and that's where I'm at. That's the
Mhm.
easiest thing. I'm looking to find some speaking engagements, so I can post that when I do have some come up that are not
Mhm.
technical related. I'm just now getting into that to um, see where I can go with that.
Mhm.
So um, that's an area I want to explore because, like I said, I love being able to give back to other photographers and help them get better. And it's really so much fun when and I think that you can appreciate this is that when you see somebody take the tools that you've given them and they're able to do it as well.
Yeah, it's so exciting. So I'm adding to
It
my
is.
list, and I do a little wrap up review, so everybody stay tuned for that. Uh, but besides getting education, is educate, teach others.
Mm-hmm.
We all know
Mm-hmm.
something. When I first started working on my master's back in, I don't know, Middle Ages, something like that. Back when Shakespeare was around and they were building castles somewhere. um, I was like, oh, I want to start speaking. And the person asked me, what is something that you know that probably no one else is sharing about? And I realized
Hmm.
because of my lifetime connection with children, which I never had any of my own, but I know a lot of stuff about kids. I babysat, I worked in a children's store, you know, and then specialty uh, as a photographer. And I came up with this list of the stages of childhood and what you can and can't do. Like I know why a 10-month-old is very different than a 12-month-old, and you cannot do the same thing. Which is why I like to get them at 10 and not that 1-year-old birthday because they're much more independent. Or anyway, and then ways to prepare the clients before a session so it goes well because with kids, um, they need to be rested and healthy and comfortable and entertained and feel safe. And uh,
Oh
there's
yeah.
a couple more. Anyway, and I was like, nobody's teaching that. And so when I got out there and started teaching, I had some people say, we never wanted to photograph kids. We were afraid, but we've now built a whole active children's business based on the 2-hour class that I gave at the Professional Photographers of California. And that's the
Hmm.
talk I can give at any moment if I'm at some meeting and they're like, hey, we lost our speaker. I'm like, I'm in. I can talk about that.
Right, exactly.
So if people are thinking about, I'd like to teach, but I don't know what, think about your own life experience and things that you've, like, there used to be a guy that went around showing us how to make little things for a camera instead of buying things, how to make soft focus filters, how to make things
Oh
to
yeah.
block the shade, how, and that was his whole, he got his whole craftsman degree, going from local and state organizations all around teaching.
Oh
He can't
yeah.
remember his name, but he was the king of inventing gizmos with, duct tape and cardboard and black nylons for the filters and stuff.
Oh,
So some.
oh, oh yeah. Well, no, I made rocks out of um uh, foam insulation
Ah, there you go.
that photograph really, really well. And for my Santa set, I'm going to make some fake charcoal.
Mm,
That way it doesn't get on Santa's gloves, but it looks like
right,
it's charcoal.
right. And why buy
And
it
so,
if you've got the know-how? For me,
yeah, yeah.
you know, that that woman that says ain't nobody got time for that. For me, I don't have time for that.
Oh, it's so much fun doing that kind of stuff,
But
though.
yes, if it's fun, yeah. All right. So my second question, and I just love talking to you, Linda. You're
Thank you.
I think we're kindred spirits in a lot of ways, and but you've got different experiences in life, and so it's fun to hear, your stuff. So the last question is an opportunity to either share something that you might think, oh gosh, I wish I had talked about this a little bit, just, a little brief parting thought, or your kind of parting thought to leave people pondering in their hearts.
Mm, that's a good question. Um, I'm gonna do this one because I really it's really what drives me is that you're never too old to start.
Mm,
Like I said, I didn't really start pursuing this stuff until I was 57. And I look back to 2016 and to see how far I've come, earning my CPP, earning my craftsman. I'm going to finish my master's.
mm,
And, I look at people like you that, hey, you did it years and years ago, but I want to give hope to those that are saying, well, should I start a new business and try something new? And I would say, absolutely. If you have a dream and a passion for it, go for it. Don't wait, um, because you're going to miss out on something that might have been an additional spark, or you're able to do something that you weren't able to do before. And I look at this journey that I've had over the last 8, 10 years and see how much I personally have grown as a
mm-hmm,
person, as well as my skill set, my creativeness, and I'm only at the tip of the iceberg. And there's still so much more to go. And I was listening to a podcast that goes, yeah, plan on living until you're 125. And I'm like, yeah, then I got 50 more years to go.
that's
Yay.
right.
Woohoo.
Got to do something with it. Yep, yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, I love that.
Exactly.
So it's been such a delight chatting with you. And everyone, as I said, stay tuned for my little quickie wrap up. Um, I'm so grateful that you said yes, Linda, and I look forward to more conversations in the future.
Absolutely. You have a good one.
You too. Okie dokie. I love meeting these new wonderful people that I would hang out with if we lived in the same city. And Miss Linda Carroll is officially one of those. Okay, so one of the core things that we talked about is working from passion. And she has been doing photography officially as a business for the last 8 years, although she's been passionate about photography for a long, long time. And I asked her how to spark more passion because my passion has been teaching lately, podcasting, sharing, you know, all the knowledge I can think of with you and finding amazing guests. And so it's left me a little like, where do I have passion for photography? So her list was, first of all, a book called The Creative Mind, and I'm going to go check that out. Journaling, it's a great idea. One of the things I've coached people on when they're stuck at something is do a 21-day challenge where you write down 21 ideas for 21 days on whatever it would be. So that could be something for me, and you, if you care to accept it, and discovering where you think best. Um, and then she drives around her area to see if something catches her eye. So going on little photo safaris, I guess I'd call that. Traveling in general really sparks the imagination and creativity. Getting education, and then teaching others. So I love that. And her parting thought was, remember, you're never too old to start. So ta-ta for now. My brother used to say TTFN, TTFN. And until next time, bye.